Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I am your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And how the heck was your weekend? It's Monday. We have GDC starting on Wednesday, and there is expected to be some pretty big surprises. And we're going to get a path laid out for us by Asha and many of Team Xbox, including the best beard in the business, Jason Ronald, about the future of Xbox. We're going to be getting into that in the middle of the show. Back end of the show, folks, we're going to be talking about Forza Horizon 6, which we're, I think, 60-something days away from actually playing. And I got a feeling that just based on what we've seen so far, how good Playground Games is, how amazing this franchise continues to be on every release, that not only is this going to be something special, I actually think it could be one of the biggest selling games of the year. We're going to get into all of that. But real quick, just for do a mic check with the chat. Do I sound loud enough? Because for some reason in my mic, I sound a little low. I had to reset everything. I had to reboot my PC. It was a complete nightmare before we went live. How do I sound, ladies and gentlemen? Let's see what the chat says. Anybody want to? Yeah, we will be talking that Big B money. Don't worry. Trust me when I tell you. Okay, thank you, Starfield guys. Super appreciate it. All right, so listen, Crispy Bomb. How the heck are you, man? What did you play this weekend, and how are things?
I played work.
That's always fun.
I got, we got my Tatum came back for my Celtics, so I've been watching them, and I jump into gears once in a while if I'm feeling it, but right now I'm looking at things and I'm like, I gotta call out some nonsense, and I think we're gonna talk about that. So we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, you know what, folks? I'm gonna hold off my evil genius monologue for a second and just welcome in Fuzzy Belvedere. How the heck are you, Fuzzy? What'd you play over the weekend, and how you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here with you guys. Played a little bit more of Resident Evil 9, and even bounced back to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I know it's in Game Pass, but I bought it like day one on Steam, and now coming back to it on Game Pass and stuff. And also been playing a mix of like what was it? Blaze Blue, the game that's in Game Pass, and a few other ones.
Oh yes, how is that?
Oh, it's fun. It's like a roguelike hack and slash, so I'm having fun with it.
Nice, dude. You know what? I downloaded it. I've just not enough time, folks. That is my ultimate problem. Okay, well, listen. Let's get right into topic one. Now, I haven't talked about it yet, and the reason why I decided I wanted to bring it up is because Crispy Bomb had made mention of it, and he actually put out a tweet. So what I am talking about is Bungie's marathon. Now, I've already said it. I'm not buying the game. I'm not playing the game. If the game was free to play, I wouldn't play it. Not because it's terrible, not because it's Bungie, not because PlayStation owns the IP and the studio. It's because hero shooters or extraction shooters are just not my bag. I have been following this game since inception, and since I started following it, nothing about the game at all interests me. I thought the character designs were okay. I thought some of the level designs were interesting, but it's not something I'm going to support because, well, I just don't play those types of games. So why I decided to use this as the jumping off point for the show, it was not to be slanderous, not to be negative, because that's how we don't roll that way here. But we do give smoke when it's necessary. And I think that this particular topic is worth that TTS. So Bungie has released Marathon, and from what we understand, what has been reported by the Steam numbers, I can't say what has gone on PlayStation or Xbox because I have been unable to get those numbers. But what I can give you are the actual highest amount of players at any one time for this game since launch, and it was 88,000 people. what it was. It did not even cross the 100,000 mark. And whether that's good or bad, that's entirely, your opinion, folks. You're allowed to have one. Some people were expecting it to be somewhere, in the 100,000, the 130-ish thousand. I know that it got a little higher during the server slam because it was free. And now this is the paid for model, and they got up to 88. Over the weekend, it fluctuated. It got as high as 77, got down as low as 35. When I checked this morning, it was at 34. Okay, it's Monday. I mean, again, I don't know how many people are staying home from work to play this game, but it was 34,000 people playing the game. And obviously, we're going to see how long the legs are on this game. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Not the player count. I could care less. And I've said this before, and I will reiterate this again. This is not a topic that we want to, dance on the grave of Bungie's marathon, because it's not dead, folks. It's still going. People are bored it. People are playing it. What I am here to talk about, and we're going to let Crispy Bomb lead this conversation, because I think, once again, the double standard in games media has come front and center. And what I'm talking about is this story that I have in front of me, published on March 6th by rockpapershotgun.com, written by Edwin Evans. This is what the title says, ladies and gentlemen. Bungie asks marathon critics to delay full reviews to the release of the Endgame Zone. And in my mind, I'm like, what the F? Because, look, when you put a game out there, I don't care who you are. You could be Xbox first party, PlayStation first party, or Nintendo first party, or you could be any one of the thousands of developers and publishers they have in the world. And when you put your game out there, it's a full launch that you have charged people the full price for. It deserves to be rated. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Metacritic has bent the knee, because when you go to the actual scores, it clearly says critic reviews are not available yet, TBD. And you know what I say? BS. Because when you go to the user score, it's sitting at a 5.2 out of 10. I wonder why that is. Now, is that simply Xbox trolls trying to dump on this game because it's PlayStation first party? Well, I could say that could be possible, but maybe it's just that people don't like the game. Maybe, just maybe, Crispy Bomb, the game isn't good. And I gotta be honest with you, in all the years of doing YouTube, I cannot recall a time where a publisher or a studio like Bungie would say, hey, reviewers, we didn't get a chance to release our endgame stuff, so the $40 and $60 version that you paid full boat for, it's okay. We appreciate your sale, but hold off on your honest opinions because we haven't been able to get there, even though the game has been in development for X amount of years. Like, do you see how ridiculous that sounds? Crispy Bomb, let's try and make some sense of this.
Well, I don't like reading my own tweets, but here you go, because this is just a legitimate question. So if Xbox asked quote unquote critics to hold off reviewing a game, would they? I doubt it. And I would bet there would be plenty of articles. And obviously I was insinuating against it. That said, this is the thing now. This is a thing now. And all that review, this will have the receipt saved, because when you review it after the game has released, this is now a precedent that you have allowed yourself as a journalist to say, okay, the dev says, hey, like, let's wait. You know what? I'll be fine with it, because when Xbox uses that and you go and turn around and act like it's egregious and unacceptable, I want you to keep that same energy, as we know who would say that. And by the way, does that really make sense to anyone? The game has been released. People have paid the $40. Okay? Like, I haven't even seen anybody full on review on YouTube. It's a little fishy to me. And this is where I say I'm cool with it as long as y'all keep it a buck and say, hey, if the next Fallout 76 or something like that comes out, or Sea of Thieves, are you gonna, you're gonna say, okay, we have to wait because they said so. Let's say Forza Horizon 6 comes out, since it's coming out, okay, and they say, oh well, we have a few more things to add in the update. Can you please wait until after the game's fully released and the update goes through, and then you are welcome to review it. Obviously in whatever PR speak they're going to do it. But in all seriousness, it makes me question any journalist at this point and saying, none of y'all are calling this out like, hey, this is kind of weird, except like, that small publication, because they're not the only ones that said a little smidgen about it. But in realism, what they said has been confirmed in front of our eyes, because as of now, there are no critic reviews, even though the game has been released for days now. I mean, it's an extraction shooter. It's not like some kind of like, get through the whole single player campaign and all this stuff. You are reviewing what the game already is. There's not much else to it. Like, you're just going to keep playing it or not keep playing it. I don't understand it. And I look at everyone that is going to review this down the road. I'm going to look at them very side-eyed when they actually give their score, because it's just going to be like, you really giving your score or are you not? But now you set the precedent, so we'll see if they keep that energy.
Again, look, chat, I don't think we're being facetious. I don't think we're being overly pointed. I think we're asking a legitimate question. Can anyone in the chat or anybody on the panel remind me of a game that came out and reviews were held off by the request of the developer? Hey man, listen, we know that you paid full boat for our game, but could you hold off telling the people if it's good or not? Like, what kind of craziness is that, Fuzzy? But listen, you know what? I decided to push the envelope because I'm all about that evidence-based conversation, right? So I went to OpenCritic, right? This is what OpenCritic had to say about it. Now, this game was released on March 5th. We all know that. Well, it's March 9th. That means the game's been out for 4 days. A lot of people, I would hope, paid for it, bought it, right? Whether it be the $40 or the $60 edition. Maybe they spent some money on DLC, whatever, right? People spent money on this game. You mean to tell me that in 2026, the community, the paying public, is okay with having a score withheld because it may doom the game because the game may or may not be good? And I'm not saying that it is or it's not. I haven't played it. What I've seen of it lacks interest to me. And that's why I won't spend the money. Isn't because they're a PlayStation first-party studio. Isn't because, the game is a multi-plat. It's everywhere. I could care less, whether it be on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC. I told you, it's not for me. So I'm not going to play the game, and I'm not going to buy it to, quote, support the studio. I'm not about that life. I'll support a studio that puts out a game that I want to play. This is not one of them, Fuzzy. But here are the 4 scores that made it through, that stayed up at OpenCritic. And Chica's Gamers, 7.9 out of 10. Entertainment Geekly, 2.5 out of 10. Noob Feed, 68 out of 100. And Evelon Games, 8.4 out of 10. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So I guess both Metacritic and OpenCritic said, you know what? We love you, Bungie. Go ahead and take your time. And I actually think ultimately that's a disservice to the games community and the consumers. Because if the game is, again, I understand it's a $40 game. but it's still $40.
Yeah.
And if you want to buy the deluxe edition, which I don't know about you folks, I buy almost all deluxe editions. And if it's $20 more, they get my $20 more, because if it's a game I'm interested in, well, I'll pay the extra money. I want to get your thoughts on this. Again, this is not the biggest topic of the show, ladies and gentlemen, but it's one that I thought was worth at least a conversation, because, again, I find it incredibly odd. And this is where, folks, I know people are going to throw to the virtual tomatoes, and I don't care, but this is another proof positive situation that the Xbox tax exists. And how you might be saying, well, how is the Xbox tax involved in this? Well, I mean, you can call it the Xbox tax, or you can say covering for PlayStation, because if this would have been an Xbox game, like, say, I don't know, Fallout 76 got bombed. Did they stop reviews on that game? They did not. What about Sea of Thieves? Remember when that game came out incomplete? And what happened? Eviscerated. I could keep going, folks, when it talks about Xbox games, and that's where the tax comes in. Because, again, if this would have been an Xbox-owned Bungie, and this game would have been, do you think you know what? How many articles do you think would have been written the period of the sentence that was attached to the tweet went out? Hey, folks, listen, you got to give us an opportunity to release our end game. When we get that out to you, I understand you paid the money, then you can review it. How's that sound? Are you freaking kidding me? I want to get your thoughts on this, man.
So many thoughts. All right. I'll address the Xbox tax aspect first. Remember how a lot of places, it's in particular IGN, critically reviewed a game in early access called, I don't know, Grounded. And then they wouldn't budge from their stand as far as, well, it's out now, it's available to play, so we should review it now. But they don't have that same approach when it comes to something like this. But
yep.
I'll look at it this way. There is a small excuse for a slight delay, like as of launch day for a multiplayer only game, because there isn't a single player that they could have early access to play in advance to get a feel for the game. Now, sure, you could play the multiplayer in advance, like for the server slam or for with other reviewers and things like that. But in a majority of cases, there's a little bit of a weekend grace period where, something like a Battlefield, where it was, a couple of them were, multiplayer only, were given that grace until it was fully released. So it's not just the, reviewers that are on easy mode playing against each other. It's, reviewers playing against real players and not just the devs kind of thing. So it gives a little bit more of a grounded perspective. But when it comes to a game not releasing the end game, which the funny thing is this game was delayed. So you would think they would have had the end game wrapped up, because they weren't going to have the end game wrapped up when it was originally going to release. It should have been, several weeks or months later, and they still delayed it, and it still doesn't have an end game, which kind of defeats the purpose of, a game where you have a grind aspect in gaining loot and whatnot. So you would think for those, especially the streamers out there that are playing it on Twitch, they would have something to do more than just go back and forth to, I guess their checklist kind of thing. So if they're not going to have end game content, much like they did with Destiny 1, which I don't think they asked for this type of, hold off on reviews with Destiny 1. But then again, there was a single player component. Sure, you could do it co-op, obviously, but there was more of a story aspect. So you could have them grade that and then, grade the game without the end game, which came a little bit later, or at least fulfilling end game. There was end game, but it just wasn't up to snuff. And I could say the same thing about my beloved game, The Division, as well. When they started adding incursions, that was more of a end game content thing, and they didn't do raids until 2, and that came much further down the road. But asking this pause on a review, I would say any review magazine or online site that caters to that should be looked in a different light as far as, normally there's at least like, first thoughts kind of reviews. I would say those are worthwhile. Some of them get scores. Some of them just say, oh, these are our pros and cons. But if you're a site that typically does those first thoughts with a review score, and because of a patch or because of, upcoming content, you go back to it later, then this should be handled the exact same way. And I know, much like you said, because it is a Sony studio, because Bungie is still a beloved studio amongst a lot of gamers, especially the ones that would be reviewing this type of shooter, it's going to get that grace that they wouldn't normally afford for anything from Ubisoft or anything from Xbox. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, even though the campaign and the multiplayer for Halo Infinite and the Halo Online released without without any bugs that I encountered, there was the well, what about the content? When is the content coming? So there was even that where people were still giving their reviews ahead of time, although it still got great reviews without having all of the seasonal content lined up and laid out type of thing. But there was still that at least nitpick. And I would say anybody that's like any reviewer that's enjoying the game, give it your 9 out of 10 and then maybe adjust it accordingly, depending on what the end game looks like. Like I know that there's enough reviewers out there that are fans of this game that would have just said, you know what, right now it's a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. The end game, little unfulfilling, but they're planning to have something in a month or so. We'll review it or revisit it once that's released, and then go through, doing guides for that end game content, whether it's a raid or whatever the case may be. But it does feel disingenuous as far as from a review standpoint, because they're supposed to review games as they're released. And a lot of them even release, early access games and give them full on scores as if it's a full 1.0 release. They need to be held to that same, accountability, regardless of what the dev asked for. It's like, if you go to a restaurant and you ask for a steak dinner with, mashed potatoes and broccoli and some fries or asparagus or whatever, and they only bring out the vegetables, no steak, you would probably give them a terrible review as far as for the restaurant. And I would say that's what they deserve, because you're paying for a completed content that's not completed at this point in time. So it should be reviewed accordingly. I don't know. It just feels like the gaming media, at least in my opinion, and people can fight me on it if they want, are becoming less and less relevant as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is not a pile-on moment. This is a story that has been pushed to the side. Again, folks, just look at the way the media is rolling, right? The entire weekend, we kept hearing from certain insiders, and I use the word very loosely, about how Xbox is a PC. It's not an Xbox, even though it's not a console, even though the new CEO of Microsoft Gaming literally named it as a console. There are certain people that are in the industry that still refuse to call it a console. Folks, I know that I can't be the only one seeing this, right? Like, I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, finding a stretch of the truth, because this is not the biggest story. The biggest story is what Satya had to say to, of course, Asha. We're going to get into that. And then we're going to start talking some Forza Horizon 6, because thanks to Forza.net, we learned a lot of what's going into this game. And quite frankly, it's going to be one of the biggest games of the year. But I mean, look, I just find the whole thing really shitty. And I think that, you don't see this kind of hold back for Nintendo titles. You don't see this hold back for PlayStation titles. And when it's an Xbox title, whether it be an exclusive, a multiplat, or otherwise, it is held to the highest of standards, which all reviews should be. And again, like I said, if this wasn't, I could see giving them the nod if this was a free-to-play and it was launched into preview, right? But we know it couldn't be in preview because PlayStation doesn't have that ability. Xbox and PC has that ability to play games in preview, but not PlayStation. Maybe that's something they should do for PlayStation 6. But bringing it back to Marathon, this game, you got to understand something. This game has been marred with controversy for years. If it wasn't some of the staff, leaving because of certain things going on at the studio, it wasn't for the art assets that have been stolen time and time again, and then finally they paid the artists and they settled, the delay after delay after delay. And then when you launch your game, you charge people for your game. And then when things are going a little awry, it's like, well, folks, could you do us a favor? Give us a good old pat on the ass here and hold off on those reviews until we can sneak in the end game. Look, someone's going to hear this and be like, this guy's a troll, or I don't believe this. It's, everybody wants Bungie to succeed. Nobody on this panel wants Bungie to fail. That's for sure. But I definitely got smoke for that. I'm sorry. Because again, if I'll be honest, I saw it written by Bungie. And I said to myself, nah, nobody's going to pay attention to that. I mean, the game's out. People paid for this game. People are going to want another review. People that might be considering buying the game may want a review. There's no way they're going to put this genie back in the bottle. And they did, which is freaking wild to me. But listen, I would say, folks, if you are on the fence because there's no real reviews for it, speak to your friends. Speak to, go to Twitch and watch people play the game. Some of your, favorite streamers, see what they're saying, because unfortunately the games media is full of it and they bent the knee for it. And I'm utterly shocked by that, but nothing surprises me when it comes to Sony. And again, it just goes to show you how deep the pockets are with Sony when it comes to a lot of these so-called review sites, because any legitimate review site had been like, listen, as much as I want to see this game succeed, if I'm the reviews editor and I see that, I'd be like, well, we kind of have an obligation to the people that come to our website for information, and they're going to want to know if this game is good. I don't think we can hold off this review. We need to put this review out there. And again, I'm not suggesting corruption or anything. I'm just saying that's a bit of a fugazi, if I may say so. But, gentlemen, that is the opening salvo of today's show. I do want to catch up on Super Chats. We've got quite a few of them. So let me get to those, and then we'll get into the big story that happened over the weekend. And I have an article here from Jez Corden of Windows Central. We're going to get into that momentarily. We have Cade MX360 drops a very generous $2 Super Chat and says, Fuzzy for president. I can hang out with that. I vote for you, Fuzzy. Don't worry. You got the best bald head in the business. Why the hell not? We have also a Super Chat here from It's Me, the Broke Boy. He drops a very generous $5 Super Chat. He says, breaking news, and this is not good, folks. Battlefield teams facing layoffs due to realignment at EA's Battlefield Studios. Damn you, Xbox, Series S, and Game Pass, JK. Oh, just kidding. Layoffs suck. Yeah, I mean, look, that studio and EA specifically has really seen, they've gone through it. I mean, you go back to the passing of the head man there, in a very tragic way. And, the studio was still reeling from that. That's a human life that was lost. Two humans that were lost in that accident. And they still got to push forward. The company's still got to make, it's got to be a business, right? And unfortunately, Battlefield, which won out the year in 2025 as the best-selling game, which that's great to hear. But unfortunately, its season 2 did not do well. A lot of people stepped away to go back to other games like Call of Duty. And when they came back for season 2, they didn't listen to the community. I haven't played it. I only played the beta. I did not like the gunplay then. I canceled my pre-order for it because I knew it was either going to be, I can't do 2 shooters at once. So I chose Call of Duty over Battlefield. I know, again, a lot of people really enjoy it, but unfortunately, it really lost a significant amount of their audience, and that sucks that another studio is going to be facing layoffs. Because again, I say this all the time, when a studio closes, when a studio faces layoffs, those are human beings that can't pay for school, can't pay their mortgages, their rents, their electrical bills, and that's terrifying in 2026. That's terrifying in any year, but this year more specifically because everything is so goddamn expensive, and it's terrible to see. So hopefully, many of the studios that are looking for veterans of first-person shooters open their doors to anyone that's going to be affected at the Battlefield layoffs. And thanks so much for the super chat, brother, and thank you for the information. No one stole your point today, so that's awesome. Mac22 in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat. He says, "Boom, if that had happened, hashtag pitchforks and torches." Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if someone from a Xbox games studio would have asked the public to hold off, they would have asked the reviewers, hey, gaming reviewers, game media, listen, do us a solid. This Redfall thing we got going on, yeah, it's got a lot of problems. Could you hold off on those reviews? They would have been laughed out of the room. Could you imagine if the head man, Mr. Brown Jacket himself of Bethesda, Todd Howard, or in some cases, God Howard, would have come out and after the 7.0 that IGN gave it, twice, by the way, hey, everyone, listen, before you get crazy with this game, we tried. We gave it our damnedest. We delayed it a year. And we want to add some more stuff. We want to add the buggy. We want to add a few more things to make the game, well, more fun. Could you do us a solid and hold off until we can add some additional endgame stuff? Do you know what would have happened, ladies and gentlemen? It would have been a riot-like situation happening. So I think this is BS, and I think a lot of people do as well. We also have here, we have, Highlanders Grim, who's been a channel member for 4 months, bro. That's very kind of you. 14 months. Holy matrimony. Thanks so much, Highlander. We appreciate the continued generosity. He says, give me a Halo Wars 3 for the 25th anniversary announcement. Yeah, a lot of people are asking for that, man. Who would make it? I know they have studios that they're working with that could. Unfortunately, those Halo Wars 1 and 2 did not really sell that well. I don't know if, I guess if you launched it everywhere, it would certainly potentially do better if it was on PlayStation, and again, I actually think, we talked about it last week. I think that exclusivity is going to come back a little bit for Xbox with some of their bigger titles. We'll see if that comes to fruition. I don't think it's going to be true exclusives like it was back in the days, but I think if Sony's legitimately pulling back from PC, because again, this is just a rumor from Jason Schreier, we don't know for sure. And I actually saw someone actually post, and I don't know about this, if this being true, about them potentially delisting their current PC games, like for instance, The Last of Us 1 and 2, to kind of circle the wagons so no one buys their games except for PlayStation gamers. I think Xbox is going to have to make some different decisions. They may have to meet them halfway, so to speak. We'll see. We will certainly see. We're going to get into what Satya had to say, and I think that people that have had some concerns about Xbox being DED, more truth that it's not. It's me, the broke boy, drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. He says they can't call it a console boom. They've been saying for years that the Series X and S would be the last one. If they call it a PC, they can say they were right. You know something, dude? I'm not going to sit here and even disagree with you. I not only think you're right, I think that stupid logic is legitimately somebody's going to use that. And I've actually seen a particular YouTuber that hates Xbox, and you know what? I don't do the names thing, so I'm not even going to say. But what I am going to say is I've actually seen people try to use this logic as well. It's not really. Listen, it's a console. It's going underneath your TV, and it's a helix, ladies and gentlemen. It's a blending of DNA. I don't understand what the problem is. I saw Paris make a tweet on it. I might even have that tweet, but okay. So we got one more that popped in here. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat. I mean, a $2 super chat. So thank you so much, Gamer by Choice. He says, "Boom, media protects who they like and who pays." I mean, look, I couldn't say how deep the pockets are or how much something like IGN is being paid to do what they do, to have Sony as one of their breadwinners for them. Um, Probably a lot of money, to be honest with you. How much money, I have no idea. But I know that they are in. There are a lot of the games media that are in bed with Sony, one way or another, and this is a perfect example of it. You know, I have a strong suspicion, because you got to remember, if the games media comes out and this game is sitting at, let's say, a 6.8 out of 10, like it was reviewed by hundreds of people. Some people really like it, some people really hate it. Most people are in the middle, like, it's mid, you know, whatever, if that's what they're saying. Let's say, for instance, they give it the old mid score, and it's a 6.8 out of 10. This game has, again, I'm not trying to be facetious or an a-hole, folks, but this, I'm sure the fear at Sony is that this is going to be another Concord that's going to last a week or so, and then no one's going to play it. Now, again, is the end game going to be good enough to save this game? I honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, it's not going to get me into the door because it's not my type of game. But if it's yours, you should try it. I would wait until the end game, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with this. We will certainly see. But gentlemen, we got to get into what happened at the Xbox Townhall Meeting. Asha was there. And of course, who came to the party? Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. And what's interesting about this is, and I will read some things from the article and from what Jez had to put on X. He normally does not attend these things, right? When he does show up in the office or something for Xbox, he shows up in a suit. This has been confirmed. But what did he show up in? He showed up in an Xbox hoodie. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, first of all, the only reason why we know this is because one singular picture was taken by Aaron Greenberg. Now, Aaron Greenberg is the VP of marketing. So some people have already accused him as well. He specifically reached out to Satya, told him to wear an Xbox hoodie so people can feel safe and take a picture and put it on the socials. Again, I read that, folks, and as ridiculous as that sounds to you, that's how it sounds to me. With all of that said, though, it is the community, so take it with a grain of salt. Well, there was an original report from Ecstasies, who we all know that I'm a fan of his work. Had him on the show a couple of times. I want to work with him in the future. He had posted something that was not only bombastic in its wording, too good to be true, and it turns out that did not happen. And what I'm referring to is the quote where he said that he was told the words that a blank check to get Xbox back on track was used. Well, that Mike Straw, who of course works for Xbox, reached out on social media and said that was not said. Also, Destin Legary, who put out an excellent video, which I'll add to the show notes so you can give Destin some love, said that, he specifically asked Mike Straw about it, and Mike was like, no, that wasn't said. Well, we know exactly what was said because we have an exclusive here, an exclusive, mind you, from Windows Central. So before I pull up the story, let me read Jez Corden's tweet verbatim, and then we'll pull up that article. I've already added the article to the show notes if you want to give it a click and give it a read. It's a really good read, folks. It's a lot of information there. So Jez says this on his Twitter account, exclusive. Here's our full quotes for Satya Nadella to Xbox at an internal town hall Q&A. And this is what it says, quote, we're long on gaming. We'll continue to invest and will always do so. That is coming directly from Satya Nadella. And Nadella, according to Jez, had some great comments and here initially, and here they are, folks. Quote, talked about fighting back against doom scrolling with active engagement hobbies like gaming. Repeatedly talked up console hardware. Acknowledged fan feedback and passion for Xbox. And according to Jez, teams at Xbox seem very, quote, re-energized after the moves with new management. So let me pull up the article in front of me right here. And of course, it was written by who? Jez Corden of Windows Central. And it's titled Xbox CEO Asha Sharma hosted Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella in an internal Q&A, amplifying that Microsoft, quote, will always invest in gaming and that we're, quote, we're long on gaming, we'll continue to invest, we will always do so. Again, this is a really big deal. You know, I would not, I just looking at the playing field, it's a daunting task to think of how Asha and the team that she's forming, you know, to take over or to make changes to the way things were done after, you know, Phil, you know, retired, Sarah Bond stepped down, there's Matt Booty there, so of course there's somebody familiar with the studios. It is a daunting thought and a task ahead of them on how they turn this whole thing around because, you know, depending on who you ask, I'm an Xbox through and through. It's my favorite brand. I like it for a legitimate bunch of really, really good reasons for me personally. First and foremost, I like the fact that Xbox Game Pass is a thing. And as a retired guy, I've said this 100 times, it does work for my budget. I get a lot of games for a very low price, allowing me to buy a bunch of other games, which I consistently do. You have a lot of things that the console currently does, and I have 2 Series X consoles, and I'm not sorry that I do. You have smart delivery. You have all kinds of things that this console does. It's great power. It's only 3% behind the PlayStation 5 Pro, which 3%, it can go up or down. I would rather play on a Series X if I had an opportunity over a Pro. Like, for instance, Resident Evil 9 supposedly looks and runs really good on the Pro. As a matter of fact, I saw a couple of friends go out and actually buy a PlayStation 5 Pro. Neo GameSpark, for instance, a fellow gamer, he went out and bought one and is like, he's blown away by what it looks like. That's freaking awesome. I'm glad that he's enjoying it. I played it on, I rolled credits last night, as a matter of fact, on the X, and I just started my second playthrough. I'm having a great time, and it looks phenomenal. But this is an important conversation to have because what it ultimately does, whether someone is going to frame this as, you know, an advert for Microsoft and Xbox working together, or, you know, all they want to do is calm people's minds. Listen, when Asha came out last week and announced Crispy Bomb Project Helix, and that she went out and confirmed that it is a console first. And what does Helix ultimately mean? It means a merging of DNA, meaning exactly what we all thought this box was going to be. It was going to be a merging of console, a merging of PC to make a hybrid device. The first of its kind, the first that's ever been done for Xbox. And it's been a many, many years since the idea of a potential of OEM devices. But we're not talking about those. We're talking about the actual Microsoft designed AMD teamed up with Xbox that's coming out next year. GDC, at least the part where Xbox is hosting, is going to be on Wednesday. And there is a long list of Xbox and what they're going to be doing in the future. And Jason Ronald is going to be leading the charge. I don't know, Crispy, if we're going to actually see the device or we're going to get like the skinny of exactly when it could potentially be coming out and exactly what it's going to be doing. But needless to say, I don't think any of this is coincidental. Everything that they've done up until now, including this town hall Q&A with staffers, this was supposed to be a private event and it got out, right? Was it on accident? Was that by accident? Was it on purpose? I don't know. But we have the information in front of us. I want to get your thoughts on this because according to Jez Corden's article, Crispy, he goes on to say at the big internal Q&A session, Xbox CEO Asha Sharma hosted Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella discussing the, quote, long vision for Xbox's future. And Jez says this, the past month, longtime Microsoft veteran and Xbox lead Phil Spencer retired, giving the floor to incoming CEO Asha Sharma. Xbox stands at a bit of a crossroads. The Xbox brand has been under strain for quite some time, and to a degree, owning to the decision to divest Xbox of its exclusive content to PlayStation, chiefly icons like Halo, Gears of War, Forza, and soon Fable. The decision has left people wondering if Microsoft is actually truly interested in maintaining Xbox as a brand long term, myself included, since without exclusives content, it doesn't seem that Xbox has a unique selling point required for its long-term future. Again, this is the uphill battle that they have. The one thing I do know for a fact is that Satya Nadella has he didn't say, there's a blank check to fix what's wrong with Xbox. That would have been pretty dope if he did, but he didn't say that, and that's fine. The fact that he came out publicly to say that Xbox is important to Microsoft, we know why he's doing that. He's doing that for his investors. Microsoft makes a lot of money, but guess what? Xbox makes a real lot of money for Microsoft and their investors. So of course they're going to keep it going. It's what they do in the interim to kind of get things back on track that's going to be very interesting. But I want to get your thoughts on what Satya Nadella had to say at this town hall, Crispy.
Well, it's a corporation. We've highlighted multiple times over the past a few quarters, I would say, that the Xbox ecosystem, regardless of what you think about it, is making Microsoft money. And this is where I go and say, and you know what? I'm going down the rabbit hole, Boom. I've been holding this one back for a while.
Go crazy.
ABK, from everybody's words, changed everything. Why did it change everything? Who was the one that was testifying against Microsoft in that? It was PlayStation. It was Sony saying, no, you can't have Call of Duty, and that's just one game, as an exclusive. Okay? So you go down to that rabbit hole and you say, all right, well, they highlighted that Starfield's exclusive, and they highlighted Bethesda's exclusivity and all these other things, right? So then you highlight all that. You have this massive battle. What was it, a year and a half, 2 years? A massive battle with regulators, with Sony themselves, all these things. At that point, aren't you tired? Okay, because now you've obtained ABK. You have went through that entire battle, and you've said, okay, we had Phil testify, Sarah, you had the email come out from Matt Booty in that, all these things, right? You say, you know what? We got to relax. All right, let's just start releasing games on PlayStation, make them happy, have them, just be, null and void. Like, hey, like, this is great. We get these new games, all these things, IPs that we've never played before. If you've been only on PlayStation the entire time, these are all things that could have transpired within the boardroom or anything else. Now you come in and you say, okay, Phil retired, which I believe he really wanted to retire a while ago. I do believe that. He looks like he's just done. Like he's ready to be with his family. The Sarah thing, I already expressed my opinion on that. The fact is you have new leadership, okay? And you're right. Satya is usually, like very prim and proper. Like, I'm going to walk in and I'm going to be the CEO. I'm going to have at least a shirt and a overcoat or something like that. And all of a sudden, he comes in with an Xbox sweatshirt and he says, you know what? We're not done. And then they announce Helix and all these other things. And you say, oh, well, it's not a console. they've already announced the Magnus chip. The Magnus chip is the whole purpose of this actually being a console. It is going to play your Xbox games natively. You've heard Colt Eastwood say it. You've heard multiple people. Do you have those out there, which I will keep nameless, that keep saying emulation and all these other things? The emulations with the 360, okay? This is going to play your one games and series games natively on that console. Okay, that's all the research I've done. All the tech heads that have talked to me have said this is what's happening. So then you could take that chipset and you could place it in a possible third party like Asus and all these other things if needed, if you want to hit a lower price point. Because honestly, they want this Xbox, in my opinion, and I think Sarah was onto it, a premium high-end product that's possibly going to have every game running at 120 FPS, but maybe, if we're really lucky, a 60 FPS locked at 4K. That would be awesome. And that's not even including all the PC stuff. So they're giving you a reason just in those small things, not including Game Pass, not including quick resume, not including smart delivery, not including, Xbox Play Anywhere and all these other things, a reason to say, hey, this product might be for me. But they're looking at the PC gamer and they're saying, you know what? Like, some of these people, like you've highlighted 100 million times, hey, there's this certain small percentage that have these high-end PCs. Other than that, this might hit some of these PC gamers that may have been looking to upgrade. May not be possible now. It is all coming to fruition. If they execute it correctly, we're talking about something that could absolutely make PlayStation, with the rumored, because it's still not confirmed by them, say, I'm done with PC. So what does that do as an ecosystem for Xbox? Hey, PC gamers, you're cool over here. We're going to release our games over here. If they went full-on exclusive only to PC and Xbox, you Sony fans would be whining till no end. You would say, oh, they can't do this. They're too big, blah, 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 blah. And then, they're releasing games, the Steam machine's coming out. They're releasing games still on Steam and everything. You can buy it if you want, but you're not going to get all the perks that we have over here at Xbox. They have an opportunity to do some amazing things and also bring back Xbox without having to alienate us. All you have to do is keep these features, improve on them, make the PC a part of it. So if, I see a stupid GNOME Steam game, then I'm watching somebody play and say, that's hilarious. I would love to play that with my stepson. You know what I mean? These are little things that, hey, I'm able to do that now that I have the Helix. Like, this is a possibility. So these are things for me as a primarily, if not always, console gamer. When I was young, yes, I had a PC and I tried it out and I didn't like it. And that's the reason why I'm a console gamer. Okay. So I have been through all that. I want them to have a clear, objective. I want them to say, hey, we got to hit IP. Like, I really don't think Forza Horizon 6, after you already released Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation, I don't think it should be there. Now, they want money. They're a corporation. They're going to do what they want. But if you held that back, some of those PlayStation gamers that love Forza Horizon 5 might say, I don't know. I kind of want to go and do this in Japan and have these extra perks. And, I'm getting onto our other subject. But in all seriousness, I look at this and I say, am I mad that Halo Campaign Evolved is going to PlayStation? No. You have these IPs, and if you treat them correctly, like an Oblivion, for example, and you go and release it remastered and everything, you are going to make money. You can't do Gears of War Reloaded and just throw, what I call, ridiculous, like, money grab stuff at them. You got to actually put the work in. So instead of giving them Gears of War E-Day, you say, hey, but also we have remastered in UE5 or remade in UE5, Gears of War 2 and 3. Here's that for you, but E-Day, we don't know when that's coming. So if you really want to play E-Day, guess what? You got to come to Xbox or PC, because guess what? You've already established, PlayStation, that PC is multiplat, even though you said it wasn't. And guess what? Now you've established that. Y'all are, running around, clicking your hooves, loving everything. And guess what? That's what happened right in front of your face. They said, PC players, we don't like you. That's what PlayStation said. And you have 900 million at minimum of PC players. Who's the bigger audience to try to grab? Xbox is doing the right things. I just want them to be like, hey, PC, you're included. Like, hey, you only get Gears of War E-Day on PC. Hey, you guys can come sit with us. And Xbox. That's not that hard. It's mind-blowing how they just dance around and move those goalposts. And I just sit there and I'd be like, dude, I got screenshots of you. Like, you need to chill out. Like, you said this one day, oh, it's a PC's not a big deal, this and that. And now you're dancing around loving that they're pulling back from PC. I don't want Xbox to pull back from PC. I want them to question what they release on PlayStation. That's my thought process.
So a gentleman in the chat who's a good friend of the show is saying about, well, they're not pulling all of their games off of PC, just a single player. So they're going to put their multiplayer games. Look, I hear you. But here's the problem. What multiplayer games are you talking about? Right? Marathon was always going to be a multiplat because Bungie said the only way they were going to be they would sell themselves to Sony is if their games. That was part of the contract. So Marathon is multiplat because that was a deal that PlayStation made in the contract with Bungie. What other multiplat games? Is it The Last of Us Online? Oh, that's right. I forgot. That doesn't exist. That was canceled. What about Fair Games? Is that going to be a multiplat? That game is probably canceled. So if they've canceled all these multiplayer types of games, these gas games that they would put onto other consoles like Xbox, where are they? What are they? When are they releasing? That's I understand the point. Well, they said they're going to keep their gas games. So they want to make money. But the question I have to pose is, what gas games are you talking about? Helldivers is there. It's making money for them. Is it making as much money as it was when it first came out? I don't know. I stopped playing it because I only have so much time in a day. But I certainly supported the hell out of the game. The game was freaking awesome. Still is. But I just don't have the time. So if, I understand that the first thing is, hey, they said multiplayer. You got to line up and give me the multiplayer games that you're talking about, because Destiny's already there. Marathon is already there. What first party multiplayer games are everywhere outside of what? The only thing that has not been officially canceled is Fair Games, and we know that's probably good. That we're a week away from a cancellation, a studio closure, right? They canceled everything else, so there is no multiplayer games to keep releasing on PC. There aren't any. Are they going to come out with one? I have no idea. But we will certainly see. Well, look, Fuzzy, I want to bring you in, but I want to read a couple more excerpts from the article from Jez Corden. And this is a quote directly from Satya Nadella when he was introduced by Asha. And Satya goes on to say, there are core identities to this company. I don't think Microsoft will exist without these identities continuing to thrive. We're a platform company, a developer company, being a knowledgeable worker company, and gaming. These are the main identities of what Microsoft has always meant and will always mean. Therefore, we need to take that. We don't need to take it for granted. We need to renew it. I'm really thankful to Matt Booty and Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond and all of you who have built this franchise into its 25th year. And then, of course, Asha thanked Satya for the opportunity and noted Xbox's uniqueness. She hailed the Xbox team, calling them incredible, noting that over 10% of the Xbox team had been there for over 20 years. She said it emphasizes Microsoft's long-term mindset, reiterating Satya Nadella's comments on being long on gaming, and asked him to elaborate on that point. Well, he did. And this is what he had to say. Frankly, this applies to anything that we do. We should be in the core of what we do here for gaming's sake. It's not about anything other than being just an excellent company and an excellent steward for what it means to produce great games and produce great systems and hardware. I mean, look, I can keep going. This is a long article. We only have so much time, but Fuzzy, I'm going to get your thoughts on what Satya had to say. And in this town hall, hearing that what we got from Jez Corden and what was put out there, I think it's safe to say that Xbox isn't going anywhere. Hardware is around the corner. We're going to get a chance to know more about that hardware this week, specifically at GDC. And to be quite fair, I don't see anything that's Xbox is dead. As a matter of fact, I think that they understand. And when I say they, I actually think that, and this is just me speculating, folks. This is not this. I didn't get this on an inside tip or anything. I'm just reading the room. I think Satya understands that there were mistakes made. The multi-plat thing, yes, it made some money for them. And some games it did better than others, right? But ultimately it damaged the brand. And there are rumors that Matt Booty was the one that did not want this to happen. Maybe that's why he's still around. I have no idea. It's just speculation. But there are rumors that he really pushed the envelope to keep the exclusivity of Xbox, and he believed it was the actual identity of the brand. Well, that identity has been damaged. Now we have new leadership. They have an uphill battle. I'm going to get your thoughts on if what Satya had to say, gives you faith that Xbox is in it for the long haul.
I think more so than anything, with him making that appearance and being in more casual wear as opposed to business attire, should give the Xbox team a lot more comfort. I know that there's probably shortly after the regime change, let's just say, there were probably some people a little concerned as far as what that meant, long term, or the outlook for XYZ Studio and so forth. So him making that announcement at like the town hall, I think should regain some of the confidence of their team as well as the consumer as well, because it's not a usual type of appearance. I mean, sure, a lot of this could be, dog and pony show kind of stuff as far as for us, the consumers, or even the gaming media for that concern. But I do think there is a re-energized commitment from the higher ups as far as being more open to maybe a different direction, or just looking at what may have been done before and seeing if that was worthwhile in the end. Now, I'm not going to speak on the exclusivity aspect of things. I think that's kind of like the genie out of the bottle kind of deal. Although I would like to see, if PlayStation is supposedly pulling back their single players, maybe, Xbox should do something similar, but it is what it is at this point. I think the bigger thing is the timing of all this, the announcement of the console. And I know some people are like, well, maybe that was a coincidence to kind of take away from Marathon. I think a little bit differently, although I know there's a lot of great opinions saying otherwise. But my thought was a lot of this is to counter the constant Xbox is dead. They're getting out of the hardware space. Like with Samus Blackley, he made a couple of posts talking about this seems like it's going to be like a swan song with the new leadership kind of deal. Impactor, although he seems to quote things exactly the opposite of how they wind up, but he's also talking about the end of hardware for Xbox. So I think a lot of this is to counter that narrative, which they've gotten much better, even during like the last few, I guess you could say, years of Phil's leadership. they've gotten much better as far as countering narratives. I like that they're, a lot more, I guess, better timed or better placed. And if they are doing these announcements or bringing more attention to the brand while also taking some of the spotlight off of their competition, that would be a little bit more of an encouragement that they are serious about this. So whatever energy is pumped back into their veins, it seems like it's working. And having Satya at that town hall, I think, is evidence of it. As far as when it comes to the Helix and all the debates online, I think one thing needs to be clear. If the CEO is saying it's XYZ, I mean, it's a console in her posts, then we should just take it as that until we actually have it in front of us. And then if we see it's differently, then we can, see about refunds or pitchforks or whatever. But I think at this point, some of the other noise that constantly pops up, which Boom, I sent you like a tagline for what I think would be a good marketing kind of thing with the whole Helix naming, although it's just a project name, it's not an actual console name. But I think they really need to drive the message home that this is a console that is special in a way that no other console has, the ability to play PC games at the same time. And for those that are like, well, it's emulation this and emulation that, okay. Here's the big thing. Can you explain to me how different a console is from a PC? In most cases, the chipset, the hardware, the board, a lot of that stuff is pretty much like pre-built lower end PC stuff in a lot of cases, especially since they've been going with AMD. But you can look back in the past with Intel chips and PowerPC chips for the PS3 and stuff. They've followed the PC spectrum for a long time. In fact, if you overwrite your OS on your PS5, you can have a Linux box basically being as close as you can get to a Steam machine at this point in time. So these consoles are PCs with a walled in, setting or access. You don't get all of the root functions you would with a PC. It just has that layer that blocks you from, side loading stuff, unless you overwrite that OS, which some people have done with their series consoles and have turned those into emulation boxes. But in the grand scheme of things, this new console that they're moving forward, this new leadership that's moving forward, with what we'll see hopefully this week at GDC and maybe, get a true unveiling at the June showcase, fingers crossed, I think is the direction that we need to pay attention to. And for the love of God, gaming media, stop bringing up 2013 and TV or console sales, unless you're going to look at the Wii U. Like, if you're going to bring that stuff up, bring up the Wii U. If you're going to bring that stuff up, bring up the tone deafness of PlayStation with the PS3, with get a second job. Like, I'm tired of constantly bringing up the bad for Xbox and not the bad for the others, as if it's relevant to this new move. Wait until, let's say 5 or 10 years down the road, and this all goes kaput, or maybe it goes extremely well. Whatever the case, use it as a backdrop when comparing it further down the road. It's the first few weeks. And I would say for the first few weeks of this new leadership, they've been doing a pretty good job as far as staying on message and getting people talking about the brand, which in essence is probably the most important thing, bringing back, the focus to Xbox in general. But it's great to see Satya backing this. We'll see if he does any funny business behind the scenes later. But I think right now we should just take it at his word as far as being behind the brand and the focus being on the console, and see where they go from there.
And again, listen, great points from both of you gentlemen. A console is happening, an actual console, a hybrid console, yes, but a console nonetheless. And, I saw a lot of people saying, like, how would you course correct? The exclusives thing. Listen, folks, that's somebody that's getting big bucks, 6 figures, potentially. I'm not that guy. I'm a podcaster. How I would do it. I mean, I don't know if this would work, folks, because certainly I keep checking my LinkedIn, and I haven't gotten an offer from Microsoft to come work for them, more specifically at Xbox. And that's fine, because I'm an old man and I'm a little long in the tooth. It's fine. I'm not insulted at all. But with all of that said, the way that you could do this, and Crispy, you mentioned Gears E-Day, you mentioned Fuzzy Belvedere, of course, your favorite, Forza Horizon 6. And I actually think that they could pull that off if a console was releasing this year. See, that's the difference. Let's just say, for instance, this was the year that the Project Helix was releasing, right? Because we know at some point that Gears could be going there, and we also know for a fact it's already been announced that Forza is not going to be there day one, but could be there. They plan to release Forza Horizon 6 on PlayStation, right? Well, the same way PlayStation just decided to not release Ghost of Yotai and Soros on PC, and it was well into development, Xbox could do the same thing. Hey, you know what? We changed our mind. It's not coming. Oh, by the way, Gears, we thought about it. Too big to put onto PlayStation 5. We're going to keep it. And if these games are coming out, launching on a new piece of hardware, that is how you get people to buy your hardware. Right now, again, I've said this before, and I kind of want to reiterate this. There is this thought in the games community, I'd even say the games media, that Xbox is trying to poach PlayStation players from their digital libraries. I'm here to tell you that is wrong. You are wrong if you're thinking that. They're not trying to get the PlayStation audience. The PlayStation audience is going to stay where they are. They're trying to attract PC gamers on mid to low range hardware. And again, why? Because it's going to be an easy way to get upgrade to their stuff that they currently have. Again, let's say, for instance, you're a gamer playing in 1080p on a 3 series card. You can't afford a 5090. You'd like one, sure, but you can't. Money is tight for everybody, and it's not just PC gamers. It's the freaking world. That's why PC gamers are playing at 1080p on 2 series cards, right? They're there for a reason. If a $1,500 investment in a card is what that you can't do, and there's $1,000 Xbox that's running as again, I don't know what the power. Supposedly, things going to be incredibly powerful, so it's going to be also incredibly expensive. Some people say 1,200. I don't think that high. I think somewhere anywhere between 800 and 1,000 it's going to release. That's just my shot in the dark thought. But if you are someone on old hardware, and this new box is an open source, meaning you can play your Steam games, which is why they're there. They're playing on PC because they love Steam. Well, guess what? You can play all of those games in a bag of chips on this thing, and it's $1,000, and it's running as good as a 5090 card. Again, I'm just being it's just shooting in the dark here. I don't know if it's going to be as powerful. It may be even more powerful than the 5090. I don't know, but that's the draw. They're trying to get the PC audience, and Fuzzy and Crispy. More specifically, Crispy Bomb, you had a number. You had a number. You said 900 million, right? PC players. Is that the number that you threw out there?
Yeah, it was the low end.
That's the low end. So let's just say, for shits and giggles, ladies and gentlemen, just for fun, that there are 1 billion gamers on PC. What if Xbox were to convert 1% of those billion players over to Xbox, right? They buy it. They're like, I don't know. I can't afford to upgrade my PC. And this thing is supposedly a PC. They bring it home. They can change all the bells and whistles. They're changing settings. They're playing in Ultra. They're playing games no longer in 1080p, 60 locked in 4K. They're like, oh my God, this is incredible. I can't believe this is an Xbox. I can't believe I bought this thing. And then word starts to get out that, holy shit, this is as good as buying a PC, especially if you're someone that's going to buy a pre-built. You're going to go out and you're going to buy a $3,000 pre-built, but you can go get this thing, and I guarantee you that this thing is going to run as good as that $3,000 pre-built, right? This is going to be again, the audience that they're attempting to get is not PlayStation players. Yes, will some come over? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they get less than 1%. But I'm here to tell you it's the PC audience that they are trying to attract to this thing. And even if they got 1 to 10% of those PC players, it would be millions of consoles sold, ladies and gentlemen. Just it's a theory. If you don't like it, I hear you, but that's what I got. But you catch up on Super Chats, and we'll get to the last topic. This one is going to be led by our best bald head in the business, Fuzzy Belvedere, who is the master of knowing when it comes to Forza Horizon and the series. We have here 2 additional Super Chats. We have let's see, pure shooter 7477 in the chat drops a very generous $10 super chat. He says, regarding the marathon delays, just think about all of the games that are reviewed without the day 1 patch. They're fine reviewing an inferior version compared to what anyone else sees if it suits them. I mean, there you go. That is as real as you could possibly get, because how many times did someone get a game for review? It didn't have the day 1 patch. They review bombed it, and when the day 1 patch came in, they're like, yeah, wow, that was actually a lot of work that they did there, but I'm not going to re-review it, and they don't change the score. How many times does that happen? Quite a bit, folks. That's a great point, Pure Shooter, and thank you so much for it, and thank you so much for the generosity. We also had Lord Roughness in the chat, dropping a very generous £5 super chat. It says, bring back exclusives. Looking back, Xbox got hate trying to please everyone. Now with a fresh reset, I think they should treat PlayStation as the enemy. I think there's going to be a return to some extent. I don't know how much of a console war. Like I said, if there is a console, this becomes such an easy point in question. If there's a console releasing this year, if that Project Helix was announced, and it's not coming to next year, probably holiday of next year. It's a whiles away, but again, if just for argument's sake, if it would have been a console launch this year, holding Gears and Forza to just that box sells that box, and it brings value back to the actual hardware. This is something that they lost when they made.
Can I just pose a question?
Please.
And I want you to answer.
Sure.
If they delayed Gears of War E-Day, and they showed you a good chunk of what it was, and what it is and what it could potentially be, and they said, look, we are only making it for Xbox as of now, even if they were, because it's corporate speak. Gotta remember, they don't want to piss off everybody, but it's going to release with the next console. What would you think?
Okay, so I have two answers. One from the greedy gamer. I'd be mad as hell if the game got delayed. But I'm a greedy prick. That's my problem. I want all games, even though I can't play all games. I know I can't play them all, but I want them all the same, right? So that's greedy gamer boom. Reality boom is like, man, that would be a balls of steel move that they said, you know what, we're going to give the team more time, let them go crazy. And by the way, it's going to be a launch title for Project Helix, bro. I listen.
It was just a question. I'm a greedy gamer too. I want Gears 8 E-Day now, but it's a legitimate question, because I do have a feeling, and obviously this is off topic, but I do have a feeling that we might see a snippet from GDC, because it's UE5, and you have the masters of UE5, releasing Gears E-Day at some point soon. So why not, have them do it? You could see a little TED talk or something like that, showing some of the tools that they're using within UE5. Just speculation, nothing more.
I mean, listen, it's great speculation, and it's one to really kind of put the thinker cap on and be like, man, again, it's one of those things that's balls of steel. It would be like, and the way, look, we talked about this. We were talking about this privately, and Crispy was getting crazy. Like he was getting like super hyped for this. He got into what he said. Well, what we were talking about in the green room was the fact that if they decided that they were gonna go back to some type of exclusivity, more than likely it would be timed, right? That's would be, and they just came out and said, "Yeah, listen, because they didn't officially announce Gears of War E-Day coming to Xbox. I mean, coming to PlayStation. We all kind of figured it would be. If they were to come out and say, "Here's the Gears of War E-Day trailer," and they simply just show a PC and Xbox logo and drop the mic. I mean, that's one of those situations where, you get the Ryan McCaffreys to run up on stage and be like, "Well, what about PlayStation? I bought a Pro." Well, you can play it on your Xbox because that's where you're playing it. It's gonna be a launch game for the next hardware, Project Helix. Get in line. Like, I'm just saying that's what you do. You do that kind of move and you drop the mic. You know what I'm saying? And when people ask, you kind of be like a dick about it. Like, listen, we're not talking about PlayStation right now. We're talking about Xbox. And if you have a PC, well, you're welcome to the party. But if you're on PlayStation and you want to play this game, we'll come to that decision we'll get to it when we get to it. I mean, that's how you do it. If you want to bring back Renegade, that's how you do it. Are they going to do that is the question. I don't know. I don't know. And not having a console to launch this year with these games to kind of hold them back for the console kind of puts them in a bit of a, on their back foot. I don't know how you handle that, to be honest with you. But I want to move on to the last topic of the show. And I want to welcome in, hey, brother, what's going on, dude? How you feeling? Welcome to the party.
I'm good, thanks. Sorry I'm late. I just had a few things to sort out. But yeah, I'm just trying to keep up with all the craziness that's happening with the Xbox news as of late. And we're catching up with Jez's new article that he released earlier this morning, I believe. It's an interesting read.
When he put that out, I have his article right in front of me, and it was posted 18 hours ago is when it dropped.
Yeah, it's an interesting read.
Yeah, it's a pretty good read. We actually went through it regarding what Satya had to say. And again, I think it's all confidence for Xbox moving forward that, yes, hardware is going to be a part of the plan. They're not shutting down. They're not going to be a publisher only. Hardware is at the core. First party games, good games are at the core. He said, again, like Asha, he said everything that an Xbox fan wanted to hear. Now, again, whether or not it's corporate speak or not, that's something that we're going to have to cross. They have to look. I'll put it to this way: they have to deliver, ladies and gentlemen. They make these promises. They say it publicly. We have it on record. We have the articles. We've read the quotes. They have to deliver. There's no pulling back from this. Otherwise, it's an epic fail and more corpo speak. But I don't think that's the case, to be honest with you, because of how much money Xbox actually makes. But, gentlemen, I do want to get into the last topic of the show, and this is where Fuzzy Belvedere is going to show off everything he knows about Forza Horizon 6, which, again, according to my notes, is officially 67 days away before it hits early access. And, of course, I'm going to be there day one. A lot of people in this chat are going to be here day one, but we had a tweet here. Thanks to Clobriel. Now, again, it's a little bit old, to be honest with you, but it's one that we have not had an opportunity to kind of really sink our teeth in. And I'm sure that there's been even more information that has been that Fuzzy Belvedere will be able to give us the 411 on. So again, Clobriel posted this, and this comes the way of Forza.net, and it's 10 new features coming to Forza Horizon 6. And it goes on to say that Playground Games summarizes these 10 features coming to Forza Horizon 6. And here's the listing, ladies and gentlemen. Famous landscapes of Japan, including Tokyo City, Shibuya Crossing, and Ginkgo Avenue, and Tokyo Tower. Iconic mountain passes like Mount Haruna and Bandai Azuma. Now, again, I have seen some talk that, again, I don't know if they've actually played the game or they haven't, but I think a lot of people are going to be playing this game and simply just looking around. Like they're gonna drive around, not get into races, just because it's gonna be. First of all, it's Japan. We've always wanted to go here, and they're finally freaking delivering it. But Fuzzy, before I hand you the mic, brother, let me read some more from this list. Of course, it comes the way of Clobriel. It goes on to say more dynamic seasons than in Mexico. Snow always available in mountainous alpine regions, which is dope because I love driving in the snow. New event types. It's called Horizon Rush. Maybe you can give us the update on what exactly that is. A shared open world without separate matchmaking, including time attack circuits, car meets, and drag meets, which is dope. Customizable garages, as well as multiplayer event labs. Rare aftermarket cars, car proximity radar is going to be a big part of it. Update to the car engine and environment sounds, which is, again, I expect it to be top tier. Updated Forza Aero paint liveries on windows, new rims, cosmetic tires, and wear, as well as finally updated steering animations with up to 540 degrees of wheel rotation. Look, this game is going to have it all, Fuzzy Belvedere, and I'm sure that you know more than what's even listed. Let's get your thoughts on what Clobriel had to say and what additional stuff you were able to find.
Well, the big thing is whenever they show some of the biome stuff, there's a lot that you can pick up on as far as in the environment. Like, I'm pretty sure we're going to have one of those showcase events racing against the bullet train. That Gundam or whatever robot that they showed at the end of one of the trailers, I'm pretty sure that's going to be in the showcase event as well. But the big things as far as the multiplayer or open space world, I guess you could say to some extent, having the car meets, I think, is a huge thing. Now, I know there's some in the community that are upset about Xbox closing clubs. And I kind of thought the clubs, when it was tied into Forza, was kind of wonky because you can only be in one club, and in Forza's that same club in Forza. So if you were into photographs and you joined a club for photographs or for drag racing or something like that, but that's not the club you wanted to be in, it kind of screwed up what club you were going to be a part of in the game. So I think by getting rid of clubs, that makes up, the car meets will make up for that. So you'll be able to more than likely have your own crew or club or whatever they choose to call it, where you can have your friends in a convoy, or they're always on your group list where you can race against other groups or, exchange, liveries and things along those lines. So car meets is something that I think the last time they had it was in Forza Horizon 2. So having it back is one of the things I really wanted, because seeing other people's paint schemes or other people's tunes in person and then taking it to the streets or to the track as far as racing on the highway was the main thing I'd like to do. Seeing how well some of these tunes, live up to others. And then the same thing with the drag racing meets, because there are some people that can have that little 3-wheel delivery vehicle outrun just about everything in the game with certain builds. But from a drag race standpoint, having it where you can, have your front wheel drive Civic with drag radials up front versus, let's say, my Hellcat, and see which one does better in the quarter mile. I mean, there's a lot of variety that you could have with that. So I'm looking forward to those types of interactions with other players. The other big thing, the seasons. I'm so glad they went back to more visual seasons, I guess you could say, more like what Forza Horizon 4 had. And not that anything was wrong with the seasons in Mexico. It's just, it's not an area where they get that much snow, except for on the mountaintop. So it didn't seem like it was much change. It was like dry or rainy, muddy. Okay, it's snow on the mountain kind of thing. And it just didn't feel as, variety or as much variation throughout the seasons and stuff. Now, the other big thing, Horizon Rush. Now, I don't have this on good word, but I'm under the impression it's going to be similar to one of the multiplayer in-between races that you do, where it's basically race from one end of the map to the other. And depending on the type of vehicle, which battle cars is, people call them other things, but cars that can go off road where they have like off road bumpers and tires, and you just tear through the trees and without hitting them, obviously, and get to the finish line first. But I think that's one of the things that Horizon Rush is going to be about. It's basically, hey, this group of 12 racers or 24 racers have 3 minutes to get to the other end of the map, and anything goes. So if you take shortcuts, cut across the highway, knock other people off bridges or whatever, that helps you win. It'll almost be like, imagine the Eliminator in the final phases kind of thing. I think that's what they're looking for, because that's, in all honesty, the more intense, fun part, I think, of like the Eliminator, even, which if you're not familiar, Eliminator is like the battle royale for cars, where you get to race head to head against people. I think I got 3 or 4 chicken dinners. I don't play it as much, but it is, you have to be tactical. You got to get a decent car. You don't have to get the top level like 6 or 7. You can get like a level 4. Just make sure it's good off road and watch out for trees and take shortcuts wherever you can. But that's a whole nother story. But the rare aftermarket cars, I'm hoping they go with what you see in the world as far as either at the SEMA show or some of the influencers or some of the, well, I know they're probably not going to have some of the street racing illegal cars that, like, I forget some of the names, but like the Ghost Vet type of deal. I would like to see them do things like that, because there's quite a few of them over in Japan, although most of those would have been associated with Midnight Club, the real Midnight Club that existed there years ago, which they don't really talk about much anymore. But it was more so like high-end cars, high-end builds that were they weren't conspicuous as far as like looking like a race car. Like, yeah, it might be a Porsche 911, but it's rolling with 1200 or 1400 rear wheel horsepower or something beyond ridiculous kind of deal. But I would love to see those types of cars in place of the barn finds, or maybe that will be the new evolution of the barn finds. The car proximity radar is going to be similar to what you saw in Forza Motorsport. It's not a necessity. Like for me, I like having like my surround sound and picking up, like if I can pick up a car coming up on the right or the left, or if somebody's drafting behind me, I can usually tell by the sounds, which they're great with their audio, and that they're doing some improvements as far as that ray traced audio, I think is going to be phenomenal. Like they showed it in one of the trailers with the car going through the tunnel. And as somebody that used to always downshift going through the tunnel to get that reverberation of hearing my V8 off the walls of the tunnel, I'm looking forward to that. And that I've even done that in the game, and they've been pretty spot on some cars. Other cars, they give it just the generic V12 sound from the Lamborghini instead of the true V12 that might be in it type of deal in some cases. But if they're going to do even more improvement on the engine sounds, that means we'll get more accurate tones on a lot more cars, which that's always a good thing for car enthusiasts. As far as when it comes to the customizable garage and multiplayer event lab, the multiplayer event lab, like you can make your own map kind of thing as far as your own race and set up the props and the track and the limits and the decorations and things like that. But the multiplayer aspect of it now, you can work as a group. So if you're looking to build like almost like the what you would call it, like the Mario Kart rainbow runway kind of track, but you want to line it with like Halo accessories, one person can work on having like the Halo props on the sprinkled around the map. The other person could work on building the track. The other person could work on testing the racing lines for the AI and stuff like that. So having that type of conglomerate, well, not conglomeration, but like camaraderie where you can work together to build these tracks or these events is going to be pretty cool. And the customizable garages is something that we kind of saw a little bit in Forza Motorsport, where you would take like your favorite 3 cars and you can kind of show them off. But I think they're taking it a step further, because they showed in one of their videos like a wall of pictures, which I think each time you complete an event or achieve a certain bracelet level, you'll get like a picture or a painting on the wall. They'll be like your wall of fame kind of deal. Plus, you'll be able to display some of your cars. Now, in some of the pictures, that looks like there's a motorcycle in the background. I don't know if we can still get those or not. Kind of hoping we do, but it's not a deal breaker if we don't. But there's also like an arcade machine, it looks like, in some of the pics as well, which would be kind of cool if that would be the way you access like your head-to-head challenges. Because much like you can do rivals now. You have to sometimes hunt through the menu to find your rivals' times or get the alerts. So if a friend of yours on your or somebody on your friends list beats your lap time, you'll be able to go to that arcade. I'm hoping to kind of do that as opposed to hunting through the menus of where the rivals section is, seeing who beat your time, and then rerunning that to beat that time and stuff like that. But there's just so much more to this game. Like I'm still hoping, and I still got to do this video on a no hesi mode, which if anybody's ever seen, well, on YouTube, you'll see the real people doing it where they're dipping in and out of traffic, which I know not safe, not condoned kind of thing. But in the video game environment, I think that would be where a lot of us can kind of live that, I guess, adrenaline rush of, racing through traffic without hitting other cars and seeing how many points we can get for not hitting cars and, either leading the pack or if you're crazy enough to be able to do the drifting through that and see if you can earn even more bonus points and things. But there's going to be so much more to this game, even if they just released it with the basic modes of what's in motorsport, or not motorsport, within Forza Horizon 5. I think this would be a game of the year nominee worthy type of title. But I think they're going even further with the lore and the the heritage of the region, which I also made a post about. Like, some of the cars are still called Acura. I'm hoping they change all but the new 2026 Integra Type S. That's going to be the first Acura sold in Japan under that nameplate. Typically, anything that we see in the States or abroad as an Acura is typically sold as a Honda. So I'm hoping they make that quick change. But just imagine everything that you could want to do from the movie Fast and Furious 2 or Too Fast, Too Furious. I think you'll be able to do in this game, especially with some of the iconic locations like the mountainsides, where drifting down that mountainside, you can even recreate Initial D, the anime, as far as with I'm pretty sure they're going to have a lot of those cars in there and people will do the paint schemes to match and stuff. But yeah, I can't wait for this game. And you said it was what, 60 something days, 67 days?
67 days away from its early release.
That can't come soon enough. Like, yeah. I'm hoping there is some early access, maybe a test or like a beta or something like that, or maybe even a demo to kind of carry me over in the meantime. But yeah, this game for car enthusiasts, or even if you're not a car enthusiast and you just like the Japan region, or maybe you just like racing with friends and you're more into like Mario Kart, you can do those types of things in this game as well. It's just that it's not going to be as much bumper cars, but you can make it that. It's just that your friends might not appreciate it. But yeah, this is going to be the de facto arcade racer that everybody has been hoping that a Need for Speed Underground would kind of deliver. Yep. This is going to deliver that and more, plus what you expect as a fan of Horizon. You can expect this like as if it was on steroids. So I can't wait for this game.
Yep, it makes two of us. Crispy Bomb, let's bring you in and get your thoughts on this, man. Before we get everyone out of here, we'll get Chaos Lounge's thoughts as well. I know that you're excited for Gears, of course, but man, hard to not get excited about Forza Horizon 6 getting to Japan finally. One of the places that most every gamer wanted to see the series go, and they're there. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, I'm kind of in the minority. One of my favorite Fast and the Furious movies is Tokyo Drift.
I knew you were going to say that.
It is impeccable. I do believe, and I will say this, because you've seen the Iron Lords and like just people go out and do things. Even at that time, they really paid homage to the way Japan is, and I loved it. And I haven't been this excited since Hot Pursuit, the new Need for Speed came out, when they remade it and everything else. And I played like a minute of it and I was like, no, I need something new. I need something we haven't played before. And that's Japan. Japan really, like, yes, you have what Fuzzy's into, like Tokyo Extreme Racing and like you have those things, but as a mainstream, not a car guy in general, like, yes, I do my research when I buy a vehicle and all those things, but in general, just loving the setting. Like, the possibility of grabbing one of those off-road vehicles and just I feel like it's going to be like I'm going to be drifting through the snow like I'm driving, because I live in New England. I drive in the snow, and just be able to do that without nobody like, getting hurt or anything, because we haven't had that. And that's where Horizon 5, it didn't hit me, because the desert landscape and all these other things that are in Mexico, like you have that across America, and you've experienced it in some way. There's deserts and places you wouldn't think are deserts. And it's like, it's a couple miles, but it's just like, oh, this is all sand. And I've done that in the Northeast. Like there's places that you don't know that are actually like that. But in general, like I look at this and I'm like, this is such a crazy, awesome landscape for just driving in general. And I want them at some point to have like something like more drifting, because I love drifting. Once you get the handle of what the car is doing in the game, like I can be really good at it. Like I believe it was like Carbon or something like that from Need for Speed really had like some highlights in drifting. And I mean, it's Japan. Like we know drifting is a thing. Like, so let's highlight that and make it better. And the car meets, like for the people that aren't like, like I'm never gonna beat Fuzzy in racing. Okay. But if I could make a car look really good where he's like, man, that looks really good, I'll take that. It's like there's a lot of people like me who are just like, hey, like I loved racers back in the day. I haven't been excited for one in a long time. And this hits all the notes. Like I can't wait for it. And I think they're going to just knock it out of the park, because they've waited so long to do this, and they have established Forza Tech and whatever you want to call it. Playground, they don't play, which is kind of funny because, Playground, but they don't play when it comes to racing games. And I just can't wait for it.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I actually look. You see my driving. Like I'm actually pretty good at Forza. I'm pretty good at drifting, to be honest with you. I cannot wait to see what they do. I know for a fact I'm going to get lost in this game and just look at the environment, drive around. I'm going to be driving, flipping my car over, getting these signs, because that's like a thing. That's like a big achievement. I always get that achievement. I don't think I've missed one in years. I always get it's great. It's a lot of fun because it gives you an opportunity to see the game, right? You're going around, not just racing. I want to find all the signs, because you can find all the shortcuts and everything. It's awesome. But Cash Lounge, before we get everyone out of here, we'll catch up on Super Chats. I want to get your thoughts, your excitement, your theories on Forza Horizon 6, 67 days away from early access. This is a pretty big list from Clobriel. A lot of information that came the way of Fuzzy Belvedere, who is, of course, the guy when it comes to Forza info. How excited are you for this game? And are you excited for some of the features that we already know are happening?
So, Forza Horizon is an arcade racer, and I love arcade racing. Ridge Racer, Scud Race, Daytona USA, those have always been my jams. I'm not a sim racer at all. So games like the Motorsport Series, Gran Turismo, they just were never for me. I just like to get into the car and drive around, and that's mostly what I did with Forza Horizon 5. I put it on, get the car out of the garage, and off I go on a drive and see what's going to come up, whether there's a random race happening or I pass through a random track where a bunch of people are there doing all sorts of stunts. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. The new features that are coming, according to Clobriel, to Forza Horizon 6 just sound amazing. And it really does look like Playground have gone above and beyond to deliver what seems to be like the best experience. Forza Horizon 4 for many has been deemed the best one as of yet, but I think 6 could eclipse it. And it's going to be interesting to see if it does, because I know 4 has a really, really, soft spot for a lot of Forza fans. It's one of the ones that just excelled in almost everything people wanted. And Forza Horizon 5 delivered more of that, and it was great. especially the music. And I'm hoping that 6 delivers on the music side as well, because I can still hear the Forza Horizon 5 music right now. That title theme was just phenomenal. Graphically, it looks excellent. I mean, if you're an arcade racer, it's going to literally deliver what you want. And the best part is you're not restricted to play it how they want you to play. And that's what really made me appreciate 5 a lot more. You can play it how you want. There's no real order. You don't have to go and do those races. The whole world is there open anyway. And you can just drive around and enjoy and drive through trees like I was doing when I drifted across those sharp turns that never ended well for me.
Look, it's going to be one of the biggest games of the year. I agree with Fuzzy. I think it's going to be in the game of the year category, and I don't think it's going to get shelved like it did. With five should have been game of the year, not just racer game of the year. Should have been game of the year. We all know that this is a reality. Now, there was some BS with the it's a racer and it's kind of I know that they use the words of niche. That niche racer has 55 million players, man. Right now, today, across 55 million players. I think that this game is going to make bank for Microsoft. I think the game is going to do really well. It could very well be the highest reviewed one in the series. At least that's my early take on it. We will certainly see, but lots of great information. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the near, again, Fuzzy and Crispy, 2-hour podcast. These are getting really long in the tooth, these ones, but listen, let's get everyone out of here a bit. Let me catch up on Super Chats. I think we got one more. We actually have 2 more, actually. Mac22 in the chat drops an additional, very generous $2 Super Chat. Mac goes on to say, boom, if you're on PlayStation, kick rocks. And I think he was talking about Gears of War E-Day. And you know what? I can sign off on that. We have a new channel member, Games Beyond Walls. That's very kind of you, brother. Thank you so much for the support and generosity. And Mac22 drops an additional, very generous $5 Super Chat. And says, boom, to be clear, people on PlayStation can wait and kick rocks. Look, again, the exclusivity of Xbox, I know why they did it, right? They weren't selling consoles. They needed to make money. They said 30%. I get all of that. But ultimately what it did, even though I didn't like it, but I've come to accept it, is they damaged the brand. They damaged the brand with the hardcore. You have to cater to your hardcore audience. Yes, we're not as big as the casuals, but when the hardcore are rah-rahing a console or a game, the casuals notice and they want to understand what's going on. That's how you bring those casuals in. So again, we will certainly see what happens. But Crispy Bomb, sell the brand, brother. Where can people follow you on the socials and get a side of receipts? Because we know that you have them.
At Crispy Bomb on X, and you can find me on Boom's channel. You never know where I'll show up. I'm the wild card.
Indeed, he is, and he brings receipts, by the way, which is always awesome. You know, you love the wild card aspect of it, but when he has receipts for his rants, you can't argue him. I absolutely love that. So thank you so much, Fuzzy Belvedere. Let's sell the brand, brother. Of course, your channel, which we want to see grow this year, and we want to see people, flock to it because you're the best source when it comes to anything racing, especially for Forza. And you have the knowledge, and we knew that because, well, you knocked it out of the park. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel and follow you on social media?
Well, as always, love doing this podcast on Monday afternoons with you, Boom, Crispy, and Chaos. Love talking about the industry and especially anything Forza related. Really can't wait until, was it May 15th, but hoping they do some sort of demo here. So Playground, if you're listening. No, but in all honesty, always love interacting with the chat. Love talking with you guys and giving you or hearing your thoughts and interacting with you guys. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything else gaming related, just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere. You'll be able to find me on most social media platforms. I also put a link to my YouTube channel as well as my wife's YouTube channel in the chat. If you're a horror fan, definitely hang out with us on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. We'll be doing Dark Skies is going to be the movie for the week. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Just come hang out with us in the chat. A lot of times we get sidetracked and compare original movies or movies that aren't as original. That seems to be the new topic of conversation. But it's always a great time. Come hang out with us and have a good time with us. But other than that, be safe out there. Play some games. Kill that backlog because, yeah, we're getting bombarded with games and Game Pass. I think, what is it? Cyberpunk comes to Game Pass here in another couple of days or so. And if you haven't been playing the Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 or 2, definitely check those out if you haven't already. But other than that, that's it.
Didn't Planet of Lana 2 just shadow drop?
Oh yeah,
that's another one. Like, oh my god, I can't believe I gotta play that game. That game looks freaking dope. But I gotta run through Resident Evil again. I'm trying to get the unlimited, at least one something unlimited. And I spent all my CP points, which is stupid. Like I bought different outfits. Now I'm running around as Leon and RPD, which looks dope. I mean, by the way, but listen, Chaos Lounge, let's sell your brand, kind sir. Obviously, it was great to have you here, even if we're just for one topic. Sell the brand. Where can people tune in, get your hot take? Because you've been doing a lot of videos recently and a lot of really big opinion pieces on the socials. Tell people where they can check both of those things out.
Hey everyone, if you want to find me, you can do so on X at Chaos Prime Z, and on YouTube it's youtube.com/the Chaos Lounge. And I do a lot of videos. We're going to be live tonight, hopefully, doing some Steam FanFest demos. There's been a bunch of really good ones, so we're going to check those out. Got lots of videos coming out. So if you enjoy my takes, feel free to stop by and check out what I do. Also, Boom, do you start at 4 o'clock now?
We mean like our time?
Yeah, because
we literally just pushed our clocks forward.
I see.
We literally just pushed the clocks forward.
I thought you started at 5.
All right, no sweat, brother. Well, we'll definitely get you back here next week for sure. Of course, folks, if you enjoyed any of the conversation that we had today, please hit the like button. Share this out on the socials. If you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so. And of course, a big thank you to all of the super chats, gifted subs, and channel member chats that continue to come in. Mrs. Boom and I are incredibly grateful for your generosity. And of course, we're going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. It's a Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.